So we are living, as it were, on many, many levels of rhythm. This is the nature of change. If you resist it, you have dukkha, you have frustration and suffering. But on the other hand, if you understand change, you don't cling to it, and you let it flow, then it's no problem. It becomes positively beautiful.
All right. Welcome to the not so much Games Talk Live podcast, but I'm sure we'll be talking about games in some form here and there. But basically, a lot has happened in my world, and I'm going to try not to get emotional here, guys. It's tough. You know, we all lose loved ones, and it's a part of life. But the show must go on for us. And that's what it's all about. We got to move forward. And anyways, I'm glad that some of you are here today with an impromptu stream. I wasn't really planning on streaming today. However, I've got a really important mission, and that is to help my father's last wishes come to fruition. He wanted a proper funeral and burial, and my brothers and I have been trying to struggle to get that together, and we've got a GoFundMe and stuff. So if you're thinking about doing any kind of super chatting today, please refrain from doing so. And just, you know, if you can, put that within the GoFundMe in the link in the description of this video, of this live stream, I should say. And I see a lot of people showing me love in the chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. You guys are awesome. You guys have been along with me on this journey, basically, the last 6 months when we were finally told that my dad was diagnosed with cancer. He was diagnosed with a rare form of blood cancer, to be exact, and it's called myelofibrosis. What it does is it attacks the bone marrow and prevents you from creating any more blood cells. So my dad was continuously being blood transfused, and it was rough. It was real rough. And I thank all of you for understanding when I had to cancel shows and I had to be with him. I took care of my parents a lot this last 6 months, and even before. My mother is somebody who is in a nursing home now. But I took care of them because, well, they're my parents, and you got to be there for them. And one day you're going to want your kids to be there for you. And so the moral of the story there is don't be a bad parent, people. Be nice to your kids. Right?
My
Cole?
son just, my son and I went and picked up dinner late last night, and then we were pulling out of the parking lot or the drive-through, and there was a big sign for a local like nursing home. And he goes, and he's 12, and he goes, "Dad, that's where you're going to go." And I was like,
Thanks.
"Oh,
Thanks, son. I love you too."
Yeah, thank you so much, son. Fonz, I want you to tell your audience a little bit about your dad, like where he comes from, where he was raised.
You know what?
What his claim to fame is.
Okay, so obviously, you know what? Let me see if I can find a picture. I didn't set up much here today because, like, this is all pretty much impromptu. Let me see if I can get something shared here while I discuss my pretty much life with him, because again, this stream is more real talk than just gaming today, guys. I'm sorry if you tuned in. If you want to hear gaming and you want to check out, I totally get it. I understand. But yeah, Spartan, I thank you for that very much. But again, I just want to reiterate, if you guys can, instead of super chatting, that, you know, of course, whatever made there will go towards my father. But I'd rather you hit up the GoFundMe, because YouTube doesn't take part of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's,
yeah. YouTube takes a nice little chunk of the supers. Yeah.
So, but Spartan661 says, sending my condolences to you and your family. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. Thank you. So basically, my father is Filipino. I am not, right? I mean, you can tell. But here's the thing. So my mother and my two brothers were in the Philippines at the time, back in the 70s. I was just a baby. My mother met my father, and they fell in love. And he sort of had an insta family. Got 3 kids there right away. And me as a baby, I really didn't know my real father. My older brothers kind of knew their father here and there, but for me, I didn't know my father. So this was my dad. This was my dad right away. And of course, we moved in with him and his family in the Philippines. I lived there until I was 7 years old. Living there was, I don't remember much about it. I remember bits and pieces because, of course, you know, when you're 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, you don't remember much, but I do remember a few things. And I just remember one thing is that had a lot of love there, had a lot of great family members there. And my dad was in the Air Force there in the Philippines. And he also was a dentist there. So he had his own little practice and stuff. And my mom really wanted to come back to the States. I mean, maybe she wanted Taco Bell. I don't know. But she wanted to come back to the States. And my dad obliged and said, okay, I'm going to leave everything behind for you and the kids. I'm going to bring you back to the States. They got married there in the Philippines and everything. But when we came to the States in 1981, that was the year we came here, I remember that there was a bit of a culture shock for me. And I know this is crazy, but seeing other people that looked like me kind of freaked me out. Because I was used to just nothing but brown people. And like, I lived a different life, a different culture. It was completely different. It was a culture shock for me. So I remember when I was in the first grade here, I remember one of the first days I was there in school, the teacher asked what was up on the board, like asked the students, what is this? What is this up on the board, right? And I answered something in Tagalog, the Filipino native language.
Okay.
Because in the Philippines, they do teach English, right? Their schools. I was in school there. But they have this way of talking like, kind of like Spanglish, you know, English and Spanish mixed sometimes, but it's Tagalog with a mixture of, you know, English words and stuff. So I did this accidentally and I got laughed at and like the kids were making fun of me and I was like, oh man, they're like, who's this weird kid speaking alien language? And I'm like, oh geez, you know, so it was a bit of a culture shock. It was a bit of adjustment there, but got well adjusted to being around different people. Yeah, so my dad, when we came here, had nothing. We ended up living with some family members of his in San Francisco. He took on, I remember the first job he got was working for Domino's, delivering pizzas. And then he took on 2 other jobs. He was like a janitor, he was a waiter, and he was working 3 jobs at once to try to get us into our own place. We ended up getting our own place, living there, and he worked his ass off until he finally got into a good company working for Delta Dental. You know, he also put himself through becoming a naturalized citizen, going through the whole thing to try to, you know, become a U.S. citizen instead of just, you know, being just an immigrant here. And, you know, he really wanted that. He prided himself on being an American. So that was my dad. And he worked his ass off all his life. And he was such a great guy. And here he is, like, you know, it sucks for me because to me, he was always the strongest man in my world as a young kid. I remember the first time he was like 35 when he bought his first weight bench and stuff. And he started working out all the time in our garage. And just seeing him, he was like to me, he was like the buffest guy alive. I was like, man, my dad is so cool. Like, but you know, he worked out.
My dad can beat up your dad sort of thing.
Yeah,
energy.
Exactly. Yeah. That kind of energy. So I, you know, growing up with him and that being, he was such a positive, motivating guy, never complained, even up until the end. That man never complained. And he was one of these guys that, you know, wouldn't shed a tear, didn't show his emotion like that. We knew he loved us, but he was very practical. Guy never even owned a credit card, mind you. He paid everything in cash. He said, you know, if I can afford it with cash, I'm not buying it. That's the kind of man he was. And, you know, I respect that. I respect that. And he's a man that always put us first before himself. And so, you know, up until last year, 6 months ago, this was about 8 months ago when I saw him kind of looking really thin and stuff. And I was asking him about his weight. And I was like, Dad, you know, there's something going on there. And he's like, you know, no, I'm okay. You know, okay. 2 months later, he got some blood work done, just typical stuff. He was trying to get a physical done and everything. And mind you, he's been taking care of my mom for the past few years because she's got no legs. Okay. She's bedridden. So he takes care of her. He would take her out, go on drives and stuff. And he was constantly just moving her, lifting her. And so he put himself through hell doing that stuff, you know, but that's his wife. He's going to do that. That's how he is. So about 6 months ago, he got that blood work done and he came home with the results, and I picked it up and I looked at it and I said, Dad, they don't look good. This is not good. And he looked at me and he said, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. There's more testing to be done and I get more results back in a couple of weeks. I'll be okay. Well, that 2 weeks went by. He never said anything. About almost a month went by before he actually came to me and told me, hey, I have cancer, but don't worry, I'm okay. That was like the biggest thing for him is I'm okay. Like that's all he would ever say. And yeah, I believed him. This man was the strongest man in my world. Like, even though he's this, you know, older gentleman, a lot thinner, still in my eyes, as a little kid looking up to him, I was still that little kid looking up to my dad. This guy, he's unbreakable. He won't die until he gets into his 90s. You know, that's the way I figured.
Yeah.
I think we all do that, Colt. Like, we look up and we think, oh, nah, our parents are just, they'll be around. Sadly, that's not the case. So I want to get through this. So basically after he told me that he had cancer in this rare form. He's like, don't worry. I've got a plan and I've got these pills, and they gave him like these chemo pills. And if you don't know anything about these chemo pills, they're $3,500 a bottle. $3,500 a bottle. And there's not many pills in this bottle.
Oh my gosh. And
when I tell you, if you don't have some great insurance, yeah, you're not getting that paid. And he had to pay that out of pocket, $3,500 for a bottle of chemo pills. So he started taking these, and halfway through the bottle, he was getting really sick. And his doctor told him, hey, this is doing other things to your body. Stop taking those things. They're not working right. I want you off of them. So he got off of them. So at that point, he's not really fighting the cancer.
Yeah.
He's got other things going on too. He's got some sort of internal bleeding, and they want to find out what's going on there. So they take him to the hospital. They find out he has sepsis. Well, he was down big time with sepsis, and he, even on his worst day, he told me, I'm okay. I'm okay. Anytime I would ask him, how are you feeling? I'm okay. And he refused pain medication. He wouldn't take any pain medication, no matter how much he was hurting. He would not take it. He was just too prideful. It was ignorance to a point, because they told him, Dad, you're hurting. Take the pain meds. No, I don't want to do that. He always believed that these pain meds would affect his organs, and he just like, no, I don't want anything. So, yeah.
You also are very wary about taking medication. We've talked about that
a
lot when you're like suffering a really horrible headache or something. I'm like, I'll say, Fonz, take a couple ibuprofen. You're like, Colt, I don't like to mess with that stuff.
Yeah. East Side
That come
Vandal
from your dad?
Yeah, Eastside Vandal in the chat. He says this American healthcare system too. Yeah, it's really bad, especially if you don't set yourself up when you're older for your retirement and everything. Don't count on your state or your government to help you much. It's the bare minimum. It's the bare minimum that they will give you, and they will take everything from you. Whatever Social Security you have, they will take it all. And if you own a house, goodbye. Like, they will not allow you to have profits from that. It's bad. I found out a lot dealing with this because I've been the sole caretaking of all their stuff, their medical, their everything in the past 6 months. It's been rough. And I've learned a lot from there. And, thankfully I've got life insurance myself. My kids don't have to deal with that when I do pass. I'm thankful for that. But for us, this expense, it's about $25,000, people, for a funeral, a burial, services, all together. In my area here in California, it's $25,000. So me and my brothers, we've got some money collected together, and we had to start a GoFundMe, unfortunately, and that is in the link in the description of this video. If you can help, please help there. I'd appreciate it.
I've been putting it in the chat as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Colt. So anyway, he got through the sepsis, and then he was put into a nursing home at 4 months. And the reason why is because he was still coming in and out of, he was getting weekly blood transfusions up until that point, and going home, and just dealing with his wife. He was still trying to take care of my mom at that time. And I'm like, what are you doing? Stop. So I tried to take over and take care of her. But sometimes he'd sneak in a little, I can do this,
Yeah.
And one night I was at work and I got a phone call from my dad, and he was like, Jay, I need your help. I can't get up. I was like, what? So I rushed home and I found him laying on his bed sideways, and he had like a little setup tray of food he was going to eat, I guess. And he must have picked up his bowl of soup, and he just spilled it all over him when he fell back, and he just was covered in soup, and he was just laying there, and he couldn't get up. He couldn't move. And he was in this hoodie, and he was all covered up, and he said he was cold and he couldn't move. And mind you, he was running a really high fever. I took his temperature. It was 103.
Oh my goodness.
And it was warm in the house, but he was freezing. And I'm like, Dad, this is ridiculous. I'm calling an ambulance. You need to be in the hospital. You cannot be alone like this. So I did that. And he's been there pretty much ever since. It got to the point where
how long was that how long was he in the hospital?
Months, like three months up until he died.
Yeah.
Between the nursing facility he went to in the hospital, it was like 3 months. So he freaking, tried to fight through this, still no pain meds. And, it got to the point where, he was able to feed himself, but it was very, very slow, very hard for him. And I got to the point where I just fed him when I was there. I'd visit him, feed him. But he couldn't get out of bed the last couple of months of his life. And about a month ago, he started having trouble talking more. And a couple of weeks back, he started talking even less and less. It was hard to communicate with him. He'd just nod. And I want to say he stopped really communicating at all about a week and a half ago. But then for some reason, Wednesday afternoon, I was there with him. Me and my brother have been going there every day this last week to be with him and staying like all day or all night if we could. My wife even went there a couple of nights to stay with him because I had to work, But Wednesday afternoon, he got this burst of energy where he was talking a lot. And I was like, wow, okay, this is good. Let me get on the phone with people. He was able to talk to my mom. My mom was able to, tell her that she loved him, wanted him to be at rest. because at this point we all knew he was going fast. They only gave him a couple of days at that point on Wednesday. They said he's got 2 days max.
What did the nurses say about his sudden energy?
The nurses basically said that they see that a lot in patients that are about to go out. They have this last burst of energy to get what they need to say to their loved ones, and then they're wiped out.
It's crazy.
So that's indeed what happened. I even called his brother in the Philippines, my uncle, my Tito Jesse, called him up, said, my dad's on his way out. He's talking though. Can you please talk to him? Of course, they talked. So he got to talk to family. And after that, he shut down, Colt. 2 hours. For 2 hours, I tried talking to him. He would not talk anymore. Then when I was about to leave, I had to go to work. I kissed him on the forehead and I said, Dad, I got to go to work, but I will be back in the morning. Because I wasn't sleeping. I was going to work, coming home, going right to see him, and then going home, maybe sleeping 2 hours and going right back. But when I told him that I'm going to work, he woke up and he told me, you be careful. And it blew me away, because that was always my dad, always telling me, or telling, my brothers to be careful, because my job is not safe. And he knew that. And he would always tell me, be careful when you go to work. And it killed me, man. It crushed me that he used like the last bit of his strength. That's the last time he talked at all, telling me to be careful, worried about me. And mind you, at that point, he still hadn't had pain medications, and his body was writhing in pain at times. He was screaming in pain at times, but never asked for pain meds, and told them no every time they would try to administer pain meds. Finally, it got to the point where he couldn't communicate, and I told the doctor, my brother did too, just give him the pain meds. We don't want to see him like this.
Yeah.
So they did. Then, of course, he went into comfort care after that, and they had to continue to give him morphine because he was in so much pain. Me and my brother sat there with him for the last 2 days of his life and just reminisced, telling stories and everything. So my dad was such a jokester. My dad was such a positive person in everybody's lives. Everybody he met was so freaking just joyous around him. They loved my dad. My dad was a freaking super fun guy. And, it's a funny, one funny story I got to tell here is that I had a transport system set up so they can pick up my mom to see him a couple of weeks back. And when I called the transport company, I was telling them what I needed, and they asked for her name, and I said the name, and he goes, any relation to Augustine? And I said, yeah, that's her husband. And he goes, oh, I've had the pleasure of taking him to his appointments for his transfusions.
Oh, really?
He remembered my dad. But that's the kind of effect my dad had on people. He was such a nice person to everybody and always talked to people and he was freaking amazing. And, and he passed Friday night. Unfortunately, I had left for a bit. I'd walked out of the room and everything, and he took his last breath with my brother there, and my brother saw it. And I came back 15 minutes later after it happened. And yeah, but me and my brother, we like dark humor, just like you and I, Colt. We like dark humor. And anyway, we're sitting there, we're bawling our eyes out. Our dad's gone. Our parent, our rock, he's gone. But I bent down to kiss my dad, and my brother goes, ew, you kissed a dead body. And we both just started laughing and crying at the same time. Because, if you don't joke, you're going to cry, and it's just, you're going to keep crying. And it's just, I appreciated him for that, because it's just it was hard. It was rough.
My favorite story of your dad is you haven't told people, but your dad has a Filipino accent, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
And you told us a story that you were doing your podcast, or you were on RDX, and he came in the room to ask you something. Tell him that story.
We were on RDX.
I always laugh
one
every
night,
time we talk about it.
Because I moved in with my parents and I've been taking care of them and stuff. And he came into the room one night when I was on the podcast live, and he was like, JJ, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm on the podcast, Dad. He goes, oh, what is podcast? What is that? What are you doing? You know, I was just like, oh my God, Dad. I had to mute myself and like get him out of the room. Like, go. Like it was funny.
My favorite part of that story was that you were like, I'm live right now. And he goes, I wait.
Yeah. He goes, I'll wait. I'll just wait.
And we laugh is because, you know, we do these podcasts, like when we're doing a show for an hour or a couple hours, like there's no waiting. Like we're going to be here talking about games and studios and Jim Ryan getting fired. And like, there's no wait. It's going to be a long wait. But your dad, when you tell that story, I think of your dad with that smile on his face. I wait.
Yeah. My friends used to always laugh because, I mean, that's how we were with my dad. I mean, we always did the accent because he laughed at it all the time. He thought it was funny, but, and he especially laughs as an adult now when I would curse in Tagalog, when I would say like, putang ina, he would just crack up like, look at this white guy. But man, I'm telling you, my dad was always into humor, dark humor, whatever. So he appreciated me and my brother being there and telling jokes and stuff. My dad used to watch freaking George Carlin with me as a kid. I was like a 10-year-old kid watching Carlin on HBO and stuff at night. My dad would just let me watch it with him and we'd both crack up, and just, it's why George Carlin's my favorite comedian, because I have that bond with my dad, with George Carlin. We watched every special together and we loved it, you know. And my dad was a very conservative person, you know, and George Carlin isn't, but he found him hilarious. He thought he was the best. So, but yeah, like it's going to be 10 minutes. What's going on in the chat? What's everybody saying in the chat? I appreciate all the condolences, people.
The chat is talking about some of their parents that they've lost,
awesome. That's awesome.
Or some close loved ones they've lost early. And some people have said they lost their mom when they were 5 years old.
That's sad. I'm sorry to hear that, guys.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry.
It is true. I think of my parents as that they'll probably make it into their 90s. But you know, you never know what's going to happen. And
and we were really poor growing up. You know, of course we started from nothing. We came to this country, and it's funny for me to say we came to this country. I was born in this country, but was in the Philippines as a baby. Like, it's weird. The first 7 years of my life essentially was in the Philippines, but we came to this country. Yeah. And, you know, we started, you know, really with nothing. But my dad always tried to get us the things that we wanted. You know, I remember in like 1982, we finally got like an Atari 2600. Few games with that, and they were shitty games. It was like Stampede and Adventure. Adventure was cool to me. Bad. Adventure was cool to me at the time. I thought it was cool. But Pac-Man was the first game that was really like addictive to me. I was like, wow, this is great. And even at that time, my dad was probably in his early 30s, and he played a little bit here and there. I remember in 1987, that Christmas, we got the NES. And that changed my world. That probably started to shape where I am today with gaming. Like my love for this hobby really stemmed from the Nintendo Entertainment System. I remember we got the pack-in games with Duck Hunt and Super Mario Brothers on the same cartridge. And then we got Top Gun, and it was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Terrible game, by the way.
Top Gun? Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. Could you land that plane? It was so hard.
Like once, I think.
It's like, what is this?
We still played it because it was Top Gun. I remember Afterburner was a real game at the gas station, and it looked incredible. And then you go home and like, we have Afterburner at home, and it was Top Gun on the NES.
Yeah, that's not Afterburner.
Planes like this big on the screen.
Yeah. But landing that plane was a bitch. I hated it. But Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Punch-Out was amazing.
My first love.
Amazing. And I was
first
just blown
true
away
love
by
game,
it. Super Mario Brothers too. I love that game too. And do you know, I'll make a confession here. Super Mario Brothers is the one Mario Brother game I've never beaten.
The first one?
The first one. I never beat it.
Oh, I'm sure.
And
I
the
don't
reason
think I
why,
have either.
the reason
I've beaten the second one like 3 times, but
and the reason why is, you know, at the very end, there's like kind of not a maze, but you have to go scroll through different areas and go through the right. Anyways, I didn't do it right.
Oh yeah, the castle, you have to go up or down or middle.
Yeah,
in the right order.
yeah. I didn't do it right or whatever, and I gave up on it, and I started playing, you know, Mike Tyson's Punch Out or something. I just stopped. But my favorite Mario game, which is one of the worst in a lot of people's eyes, was Super Mario Brothers 2. I liked it. It was just, it was a ripoff of another game. Actually, it was like reskinned. I saw this on a documentary, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it was a set of different like characters that they just repurposed all the assets to make into Super Mario Brothers 2. But it is my favorite one. I like it more than a lot of people love 3, but Super Mario 2 is my favorite. Good music.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought
using the different characters, like really mixed it up. Oh, I don't want to use Princess Peach. And like, oh, she's really cool. She jumps really far. She had the really long horizontal jump. Those are good days. Those are good days.
Yeah. And I just want to remind people, again, if you can, instead of super chatting or anything, please just hit up the GoFundMe in my description for my father's last wishes. I would appreciate it. I don't ask people for anything, and I'm doing this strictly for my father. Like, this is, I rarely even ask for a like on my streams or videos. Like, that's something I rarely ever do. And people get mad at me for that sometimes. They go, Fonz, you need to ask for those likes or you're not going to get them. And I'm just like,
why don't you beg for some channel members while you're here?
Oh, yeah. If you can please join the VIP. No, I don't have a VIP system, but man.
Doki Doki Panic? That was the name of the game?
Yes. That was the one they basically used for Super Mario Brothers 2. They reskinned.
I mean, they used the whole game. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's so cool looking at the artwork for it.
Yeah. And folks, if I'm a bit scatterbrained here, it's because I've barely been sleeping. Honestly, the last 8 days have been really rough. 7 days. I mean, man, there was one point, like the 4th day in last week, I was at like 8 hours sleep within 4 days. Like it was just, man, everything was a blur. But I've got this energy, and I still feel like I have to go to the hospital to see my dad. I woke up this morning thinking that, but my dad will never be there, you know?
Yeah. I'm telling you that needs to pass for you, so you could just sleep for 6 hours or 7 hours uninterrupted, and then start going forward.
Definitely need that. And
I've been talking to Fonz.
Yeah, go ahead.
Several times a week, at least over the past few months while he's been going through this. And if you know Fonz, like if you know that if he's not making videos or he's not able to do his podcast, it's because Fonz works crazy hours. He works a graveyard shift. He runs a second job, takes care of his family, takes care of his parents, and no time for Doki Doki Panic for Fonz.
Yeah, exactly. And I do all this because it stems from my upbringing, from my father. My father instilled all this to me. The one thing he used to push on me is that the man is to be the provider. And that's something I will take to my grave. Like I will provide for my family no matter what. Like I will do whatever I have to do. And I lose my job in a couple of months. You know that.
Yeah.
My job is closing down, and I'm scared. I don't know what's going to happen after that, but guess what? I will be doing something, damn it. I will be providing for my family somehow. It's just it. Like, I love this hobby of gaming. It's, again, it started in 1982, and it hasn't stopped. It hasn't let up for me. I remember my dad bought me the Genesis. I didn't think my parents would be able to afford it, but they bought me a Genesis one year, and it was like the first year it came out, and I was so blown away. And I believe I had, what was it? Daytona or something. Anyways, I had some racing game. I forgot what racing game it was. I don't remember, because I didn't care for it too much. But my dad used to play that. My dad would play it, pick it up and play it. And it just, the memories of him just playing a video game at all was odd because he didn't play much. Yeah, I was shocked that I got that. After that, I was basically becoming a young adult, and I started to pay for my own consoles, like the Dreamcast and that sort of stuff.
I've never played on a Dreamcast.
But yeah, you never played on a Dreamcast. Wow.
I don't think so. I think maybe at Best Buy, I grabbed the controller and played Crazy Taxi, but I don't know if that was on Dreamcast or another system. But I don't think I've ever had hands-on with a Dreamcast at all.
Yeah. Altered Beast on the Genesis. You know what? As crappy as that game was, I found it fun at the time. I remember beating that. That came with the Dreamcast, by the way. Altered Beast. It was much like the arcade. It's just that side-scrolling. You change into the wolf, and it's like, oh, it was so like generic. But what did the first boss say? Welcome to your doom, or something when you would face him. But I remember that. It was a great game. I remember beating that game. My favorite game, though, back then, was on the NES, and it was Rygar.
Rygar, yeah.
Loved Rygar. Thought Rygar.
What is there to love about Rygar? I remember playing it a lot. It seems
basically
kind of
a huge yo-yo with spikes, and
like a big whip.
It was like a shield like type thing.
The color palette was slightly depressing, but
I loved it though. I loved it. It was one of the first. I remember one of the first NES games that I actually beat, and I was like, "Wow, this is pretty cool," But I loved it. I see you, Gaz, in the chat. Thank you for coming out, man. I didn't think you'd be here today. I talked to Gaz earlier. See, one of the nicest thing about being in this community, is I got a call from Dealer Gaming this morning. That was nice to be able to talk to Dealer. He gave me condolences and everything, and we talked about a lot, and it was really good. Then I got to talk to Gaz, Colt. Like, these are good friends of mine, and they'll always remain that. Colt and Dealer have been friends for 6 years now. 6 years we've been friends.
Well, it's almost the same time as you. I mean, I think.
No, but I'm saying
maybe one different.
All of us, together.
Yeah.
We've been at least 6 years, and it's been awesome, man. A lot of people come and go in our lives, and especially as you get older, folks, like some of you younger folks out there listening, if you've got real friendships, hang on to them, because it's hard to find real friends when you get older.
We've been able to remain friends with just about everybody except for Zocker. We hate Zocker. We don't like him.
Well, it's because he's a millennial, and he just, he's just an incessant little whiny bitch,
No, PC better.
Yeah, I'm kidding, Zocker.
We love to argue. Zocker and I love to argue behind the scenes. We have a group chat that we're in every single day, and we just razz each other. But you were telling me this morning on the phone. Well, we should talk about this too, about how supportive this community, especially the Xbox community, really rallies together more than just talking about the games, but become friends, and we get in large party chats and we talk while we play. We'll all be playing totally different games, but this morning, a legendary podcast gave you some. Yeah,
that's right. So
support.
I didn't catch the Iron Lords. Somebody hit me up, hit me in a DM and said, "Hey, the Iron Lords just shouted you out and shared your father's GoFundMe." And I was like, "What?" I said, "That's incredible." Like, I was blown away. So I went to the podcast and, started listening in, and then I typed in, I just said, "Hey, thank you for, sharing the GoFundMe," because I didn't get to see it live. And of course they kind of started talking. Cog was like, "Oh, I just want to give a shout out to Fonz," and they all gave some nice things to say, and then they shared my father's GoFundMe, and it got me emotional, and it's one of the reasons why I called you and Gaz Colt about that situation, because I was like, they don't need to be doing that, but they did, because they're good friends. That's why they did it. Cog and King are amazing people. Sov, Addict, great people. But Cog I've known for a while, and Cog talks to me And Cog actually talked to me the other day before my dad passed, and he was, wishing me well and hoping for the best. And he was there for me when he did pass. So shout out to Cog, Lord Cognito. Great guy. And
Amazing.
and it was funny because I hit him up the other day. I was like, dude, how's it going with the floods, man? Are you okay? Or, hit King up as well. Are you guys okay? And they said, yeah, man, but better yet, how are you doing? And they turned it on me, but that's what friends are for, man. We're there to look out for each other. We have to, but
Yeah.
yeah, I just think it's incredible. And everybody who's donated so far to the GoFundMe, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. My families, my brothers were pretty impressed. My younger brother set it up and he was like, if even if we get this 1,000, it'll be, something, and that's great. And as soon as he set it up and I shared it with the community, like we first 20 minutes was like $300, and my brother was like, "What? Who are these people?" Like, and I said, this is people that are just great human beings that happen to be in the gaming community that either like me or just are good people in general in the community. This is what you get. And I just want to say thank you, because I didn't think that we'd be raising nearly what we've got thus far right now. I appreciate you very much, guys. But yeah, I was blown away by that. I was really blown away. And my brother's just like, I don't know these people, but I'm trying to thank them. And, they're just coming in and I don't know them. And I'm like, yeah, I probably don't know some of them. I don't know, but because like Jez Corden tweeted it out, and I'm like, thanks, Jez. I appreciate you. I appreciate every one of you that tweeted it. Even if you can't donate, if you can share it, that helps out a lot. And I appreciate that. Share it everywhere. Share it where you can. I don't care if it's on Facebook, and I despise Facebook, but share it where you can, because I want to do this for my dad. It's what he wanted, and I want to give it to him. He's been a hero in my life, and yeah, I hope we can do that for him, and we'll get it done. We'll get it done. USO Vinny, I see you. He says, we love you, Fonz. Hope you and your family are taken care of. I appreciate you, Vinny. Vinny is another guy that I've known for quite a while in the community. Lots of people in this chat, man, that I've known for a long time. Ryan Landis, lots of guys for years that have followed me from all three of my channels, Colt.
Yeah.
Because I've shut down channels. I've shut down 2 other channels, and I've restarted and rebranded, and and I know I don't.
Yeah, I always forget about that you do that. You've done that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know I'm not huge here on YouTube or anything, but the love and support I get from the people that I do have coming here is immense. It's fucking immense. And that is what matters to me most, is like, you can take your freaking million subscribers some of these guys have and everything. I've got some of the best people in the community right here with just 7,000 members. That's what Cassie, I know you donated, and I appreciate you so much for that. I saw that, and I so appreciate that. Like, I appreciate all these people, man, for donating. It's tough. Joe, I know you did too, and man, it's tough. Thank you. But yeah, Colt, I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words right now. I'm kind of tired, not working, not really sleeping much. So trying to hang in there.
Well, I mean, I think I don't know how long you'll go through this before you finally come out the other side, but the work that your brother and your family are going to do to get ready for your father's service is going to be a lot of continued energy drain. But, I mean, we're here for you. The problem is we're all separated by hundreds or thousands of miles, and you and I are separated by, I don't know, 1,000 miles or 800 miles away. I was talking to another friend today on the phone. I'm like, what can I do halfway across the country? Like, what can I do other than to be an ear and get on Party Chat and just hopefully make these people laugh and enjoy something and think about something else.
Speaking of laugh, did I tell you about the time my dad ordered 6 McDonald's? All right.
6?
So yeah. So first time we were ever in a drive-thru together. Okay. My dad's first time in a drive-thru, McDonald's, happened to be in the 80s. And he gets up to the speaker and he goes, I would like 6 McDonald's, please. It's like, what is that? And we were like, McDonald's. Dad, are you trying to order burgers or the McDonald's? Like what? And 6 of them? Like I still remember that to this day.
He meant like Big Macs or McDonald's hamburgers.
Yeah. And he ordered McDonald's and I was just like, what? Dad, stop. And then the first time we ate inside a McDonald's, you know, the plastic trays you get?
Yeah.
He freaking threw the whole thing away. And I go, Dad, I don't think that goes there. And he just said, oh, well, walked out. I was like, Dad, no. And I freaking, yeah, like it was crazy, but he was a jokester. He was always messing around, telling us all kinds of stuff. Like one of the things he used to always tell me as a little kid, he goes, because my mom liked Shih Tzu dogs, right? And he goes, what do you get if you mate a Shih Tzu and a bulldog? A bullshit. And he would just laugh. And I'm like, that's such a dad joke. Like it's not even that funny, but my dad would say that joke all the time. He told my kids that joke. And I'm like, oh, Dad, like, come on, a bullshit.
Just 2 weeks ago, we were on a trip to San Diego. My brothers, 4 of us and my dad, and we brought up all the goofy things my dad said over the years. And some of the jokes like probably don't fly over the air, but I don't know. It's just the era that our parents grow up in, you know, the jokes they made.
Yeah.
And my dad used to tell these jokes wrong. He was kind of like, my dad reminded me of Biff from Back to the Future. Like he would just use a joke wrong. He's like, you know, why don't you make like a tree and get out of here? Like those are the kind of things my dad would mess up jokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you never forget it.
Yeah.
And then you end up making the same jokes to your kids and you're like, Dad.
Yeah.
That's what my kids do.
Yeah. Yeah. And they just rub off on you. And, you know, one of the things, like I said, you know, for me, it's the whole providing thing. That's my number one priority in life is like providing for my family. And, you know, I've been working since, you know, I've never stopped since 16. Like every time I've gotten a job, I would leave a job. If I left a job, I would already have one lined up. Like I've never been without work. I've always worked. And it's just ingrained in me because of my dad. I saw how much hard work he put in. So I had to. Yeah. Boomer humor is funny as well. That's what Mr. J said. Yes, it is. It is. It's real funny. And Gen X has a lot of dark humor. That's me and Colt. So if you hear anything, I hope you're not offended, but it's just dark humor. It's meant to be goofy and funny. But yeah, my dad was a funny guy, man. Like if there was this picture, and I wish I had it, of him, he would take pictures by just goofy things. Like there was a picture in San Francisco that said, buy your cigarettes here. And it was called like bullshit cigarettes or something. And of course he would take a picture by it just because it was like, or horse shit cigarettes. That's what it said. Horse shit cigarettes. And he had to take a picture
in the
beside
business.
it. And I'm just like, Jesus, like that's Dad. It's goofy, but I love it. Donald Duck says, just got here. Sound like sad news. It's going down. Sorry. Oh, well, no, my father passed away, Donald Duck. He passed away Friday night. And I'm just trying to raise money for his GoFundMe, which is in the description of my video here. If you can share it at the very least, I'd appreciate that. If you can help out, that's great. But again, sharing it helps. So appreciate you guys. Sir, okay. Yeah, Ryan Landy said he laughed at that joke, but he is a dad. Yes, that's true.
Surf says every generation has bad jokes. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Everybody has some bad jokes. But yeah, Colt, like, I know you just went out with your father recently and you had a good time, and, you know, what would you guys end up doing there, man?
No, I mean, we were in San Diego, so we went and checked out the aircraft carrier and the air museum that's within it. And we went to the beach and, just, I don't know, ate lots of food, walked around, went to a baseball game and where the San Diego Padres play, which is a really nice stadium, and just enjoyed the night, you know, with hot dogs, and I had hot dogs and gummy worms and
like a little kid. Dad's here. I'm going to eat like I was 5 again. Yeah.
Yeah. Like my dad and my brother had a beer.
Were you putting the gummy worms on your hot dog like you would as a kid?
That'd be so gross. Just like the sour glow worms. Yeah. I mean, I don't drink alcohol, but you know, my dad and brother had a beer, and
so you made a suicide with soda.
Yep.
Yep. Just getting all the flavors.
Yeah. It was just a really good time. And my dad said he's never laughed so hard. Like, cause my brothers and I are all pretty much the same. We're just different sizes and ages. And we all have like just really outlandish, sense of humors where we kind of use offensive humor. And my dad was just cracking up. And it's just, I don't know why it's taken, what was it? 30 years to go on vacation with him. I said, Dad, the last time I went on vacation was 1993 when we took the RV and we went to Idaho and drove around and like, I mean, I was, you know, a kid. So it'd been a long time, but I'm really grateful for that. My dad didn't really play video games. I remember he sat down one time and said, let me see that. I was playing Rad Racer, which is like a wannabe outrun game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. It's like a little red Ferrari. It's a third person racing pole position ripoff. And my dad sat and played that for like what seemed like a half an hour, like forever, what it seemed like, because my parents didn't touch video games, but my dad was playing it and driving all over the place and having a good time. And that's the only time I ever saw him play a video game thing. And my dad just doesn't, at that age, he doesn't understand like the podcast things or the YouTube things or the video game things until he sees like one of his grandsons playing a video games. Like, what are you doing over there? And like my nephew will play Madden, or he'll play MLB. And my dad's like, oh, I can get into that. But.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Most parents, most boomers didn't play video games. This is the picture.
No, like my parents didn't play Pong. We didn't have a Pong machine. We had an Intellivision, but my parents didn't play it. They might sit there and just relax while we were playing a video game and not bothering them. But
yeah.
That's our generation where we're the generation, Fonz, that's going to be in a nursing home playing a video game system.
Yeah.
Like that will be a normal thing. I know that when the Wii was really big, they were putting them in nursing homes, and the people in the nursing homes were playing Wii bowling and all this stuff. But I mean, I think next year when I turn 78 and I go into nursing home, that I'll be playing like the latest console game in a nursing home and eating, you know, soft pudding.
Soft pudding. No, thanks. I'm not a fan of pudding. I don't like pudding at all. I think it's gross. Like, just
you don't
the texture.
Like it, huh?
I don't like it. I think
you need to ask your chat if they look. You found the picture?
Yeah,
I've seen it just now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Real bull. Don't. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
But you know, he sees something goofy like that, and he's got to take a picture by it. He thought, you know, it was funny. I don't know. It's Dad. And he had this really gigantic freaking. I still got it today. I actually took it out of storage, and it looks like brand new still. He was one of these guys that would film everything. He bought a video camera in the mid 80s, and one of the big ones that you had to lug on your shoulder. And
yeah, a VHS camcorder.
When I tell you he recorded everything, I'm telling you, like we'd be sitting down for dinner and he would set it up on a tripod and say, "Come on, join us for dinner." And we'd sit there and we'd eat, and we're like, "Really, Dad?" why, but hey, that was him. He just wanted to record everything. And so I've got so many VHS tapes that I'm going through now, and I'm trying to digitize them, put them on, hard drives. So I'm taking them from VHS to a hard drive. And I'm trying to restore, keep them so they don't, because after a while, these tapes aren't going to work anymore. They're already degraded. The sound is really bad, but I'm trying to preserve them now. So that's what I'm doing. I've been doing, going through some of that stuff. But yeah, Troyski says, spending all day in a nursing home playing Cyberpunk doesn't sound that bad, really. Yeah, I mean, you could do that in a nursing home. If you got a game system, you can bring it to your nursing home and play. Yeah. My mom right now, in fact, is probably playing games on her iPad. Like that's what you do there. Like, it's pretty boring, but
it won't be weird in the future. That's for sure. I don't think so. I think it'll be fine.
But I really do.
Ryan Landis says he was ahead of the YouTube era.
Pretty much. He was vlogging before that. And matter of fact, like I've got videos of myself at 7. I was 9. I was 9 years old at the time, and I had this little series I would do called, My House. And I would say, welcome to my house. And I'd walk around. It was like MTV Cribs, but it was like the poorest, shittiest house ever. Like I'm sitting there showing you stuff that is just garbage. Like, look at my big TV that looks like a freaking coffee table, but it's a TV. Like, no remote. Like, dude, it was so bad. It's embarrassing, really. But I've got videotapes of me doing this. Welcome to my house part 2. And I'm showing something else. Here's my bedroom. There's my Transformers. There's my mask toys, and I'm just like showing everything. And, so we were ahead of our time, I guess. But
my grandma bought a VHS camcorder in, it would be like 1988. And she bought it for the family, but my family just basically had the thing all the time. And my older brother would make movies. He'd have us make like action movies, and he would shoot them and tell us what to do. And then we would set the thing up and record ourselves jumping on the trampoline for like a half an hour or an hour, or we'd have boxing matches and record it on the trampoline. And
that's funny.
That's all we did. We'd run around with that thing.
Cole, keep talking. I'll be right back. Keep talking.
Okay. So my brother's YouTube channel, which I can't tell you because you'll see video footage of me when I'm like 14 with no shirt on, but we would run around in the orchard and make like these action movies with a VHS camcorder. And my older brother taught me like where we would record an angle and then hit record pause and then run to the other end and resume. So it looked like you had multiple camera angles, and we'd dress up in like, my buddy had paintball gear, and we'd wear like that stuff and try to make ourselves look like we were cyborgs, and we would just make up an action movie as we go along. So, and I sat and watched those with my kids like last month, and we were laughing our heads off. My buddy's got my mom's aluminum flute music stand, like it's a foldable music stand. He's got it tied to twine, and he uses it as a grappling hook. And my mom was sitting watching me, like, "Is that my music stand?" And that's
my music stand? Oh,
that's how we.
The stuff we used to do as a kid. Holy crap! I can tell you stories. This is my dad's video camera that he used in the mid '80s.
Oh, dang!
Right here, and he would lug this on his shoulder.
That's
and just
the actual one, bro.
Yep. And
what brand is it?
It is. I don't even.
It says
know.
On the very front, I think.
Hitachi.
You're on
Hitachi,
huh?
Hitachi camcorder. VHS.
And those things were so noisy. Like when you were to record, when you'd watch the footage back, you could hear as it was spinning the tape heads. But go ahead.
And the cool thing about that is that it still works.
No way.
It still freaking works. And
the battery actually still will let it power on.
I have to plug it in. I have to plug it in. The battery is dead, but it still works. And it is like brand new. The only thing that has gotten like brittle is the cover for the mic, the foam.
Okay.
the foam, and that deteriorates over time. You can't do anything about that. It's like
you can find one of those no problem, or just use a sock.
But yeah, it's really cool, you know, because that's one of the things I asked him about. I was like, you know, and this was months ago before we found out anything. I go, Dad, you still got the camera around? I want to see it, you know? And he's like, yeah, it's in here. And so I got it out and I go, man, this is really cool to have. And he goes, you can have it, you know? And I was like, cool. And I started putting it as a backdrop for the stream. And then, you know, I think it's really cool. It's a really cool thing to have. So it's just, I've got a lot of memories with that. Cause my dad used to attach this freaking light that used to go up on here, and it was like this big light that sat here, and it would like sear your freaking retinas if you looked at it. And if you touched it, it would just burn through your skin. Your skin would just melt. It was so hot. It was a danger. It was like, if that camera tipped over on the tripod, your carpet might catch fire. So like you had to make sure that never fell. It was pretty bad. But yeah, that's the camera, people.
And I think the viewfinder was black and white as well. When you look in that viewfinder, it gave you a little video view of what you were shooting, and it was in black and white. Mm-hmm. And then it had a swing arm above the viewfinder for the zoom. And we used to rock that thing back and forth, and it had a button that you could hold that would do a fade in and out. So we would do fade in and out like on the fly, and it just looks so cheesy.
But of course, my dad would often zoom in and zoom out all the time like an amateur, like constantly. Like I remember we had these toys. I remember my uncle, his brother, was really into like remote control cars and stuff. He was always into the latest tech, and he had this really cool remote control car. So I wanted one. My dad got me one, and he would film me, you know, using this thing, and he would just zoom in on the car, zoom out. And I'm just like getting a headache watching this, going, why are you doing that? Like, just pan out. But no, but I was going to tell you, as kids though, my parents would be going to work, and they'd get home every day by 5:30. So we knew by 5:30 that whole house had to be cleaned up, spotless. But the things that we did, and we told them later as adults, we used to take all the mattresses and stuff off the beds, make bunkers and barricades. And, you know, we used to have rubber band wars. We spit rice through straws at each other. We did all kinds of crazy stuff. But the whole house used to be like a war zone. But every day by 5:30, it was all cleaned up, and my parents never knew. Got away with it every day. But yeah, we used to do that stuff quite often. It was fun.
I played so many video games in the late 80s because of the NES.
You didn't go outside?
So much time. No, but I mean, I'm trying to say that I spent a lot of time playing a lot of like classic NES games, but I spent a lot of time on the trampoline, playing wiffle ball out in the back with my brother and my neighbor, running around the cow pasture and the orchard, riding our bikes like as far around and to the gas station to buy candy and soda and stuff like that. Like I don't know, Fonz. I think I had the best childhood ever. I had all the video games. I wore the heck out of my BMX bike. I, you know, wore a trampoline down to the nub, you know, wore the springs on it with all of my friends on there, boxed outside, just had so much fun.
Let me tell you something. So when we came to this country from the Philippines, my dad brought a whole bunch of crap. And at that time, like there was a lot less restrictions on what you can bring on an airplane in 1981. And let me tell you, we've got like samurai swords and stuff he brought, right? And because there's like Japanese steel shops in the Philippines and everything. But anyway, we've got some of those. But he brought this thing for us, and we used to use it in the Philippines. What it is it's a freaking giant sidecar, a metal sidecar for a bicycle. Okay, just it looks like something you would use on a motorcycle, but it was for a bicycle. And I remember him bringing that here. I put it on my BMX bike at the time in the 80s, and my friends, like every kid in the neighborhood was like jealous of that, or they loved it because they loved sitting in that sidecar, and we'd be doing stuff like tricks, picking up the sidecar and, riding sideways with the guy just hanging off, a friend hanging off the sidecar and just doing crazy stuff. But it was a really cool thing to have. I just was like, wow, why did he bring that all the way from the Philippines? But man, did we have fun on that. It was so fun. But my dad always tried to put us first and wanted us to have the best stuff. And it was awesome. Big Daddy says, good old garden hose. Yeah, I remember the garden hose drinking days of the 80s. Like, yeah, our parents never wanted us inside. Like, they were always like, go outside, go outside. But you better be back by the time the streetlights go out, That was us, and we were constantly outside. We were doing stupid things. Hell, we were trying to break dance outside and stuff. We had cardboard and stuff, and we were break dancing in parachute pants with a big boom box.
Yeah, we did that too. And we played a lot of basketball out in front of the house with the radio playing. And oh man, skateboards. My neighbors were skate or die freaks, we swore maybe they were on drugs. We didn't know what they were up to, but they just love skateboarding. So my brother and I ended up getting skateboards and would skateboard around. They had a little quarter pipe they built with the coping with the PVC pipe at the top, and we go up like a foot and come around and try not to break your face off your skull. But it was so fun, so fun. And all those times growing up as an 80s kid playing a crap ton of Nintendo, I can tell you, I beat Ninja Gaiden back in the day. I played Ninja Turtles, Baseball Stars,
Ninja Turtles,
you name it. I played all of the Contra.
Dude, Baseball Stars to this day is my favorite baseball game ever. Baseball Stars was just amazing back in the day.
It's so good.
The only thing that happened with that is sometimes your saves would just corrupt and you'd have to start over.
It was one of two popular games that had a battery in the cartridge to save your game in the RAM or on the ROM or whatever it's called. Yeah. And you had to hold reset and power every time to retain your save. And I remember a couple times I lost my save because you could level up every player on your team and go through the whole.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Let me guess. Were you the lovely ladies? No, I'm just kidding. Remember those? The lovely ladies?
Yeah, the lovely ladies, the team was, the ponytails, and they had, it was girls. Yeah.
But you could even create your own characters and stuff. Or create your own team. That was really cool.
It was ahead of its time, for sure.
Very much so. And this little video that I pulled up here is one of those times my dad just filmed us eating at a party. And
who's in the very middle?
That's me wearing my fat 11-year-old self eating some Filipino food. Fonz. Chunky Fonz with a Gucci.
All right, let's see it.
A Gucci shirt. Yeah, but anyways, it's just a small.
Play it again. Sorry, I had to go back to the live.
There's one of my uncles, Alex. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm over here like, "Well, what we got for dinner? Give me some lumpia." "Oh yeah, I'll take some pancit." Yeah, I'm just.
No, you were like, "Can I have some more Stay Puft marshmallows?"
Now I want you to notice something about this clip. Everybody in here, there's one person who's a bit different, and that's me. Yeah, I was always the one white kid in the crowd at all the family functions, but I wasn't just the white kid. I was the cousin. I was the nephew. Okay. I was, these are my relatives. This is what I grew up with is Filipino.
That hair is terrible too.
Well, would this be around? It's terrible. I got the same haircut my cousins got. All right. It was basically just cut by our dads. Around
so it wasn't growing down your neck. Yeah. Was this like 87?
This was like,
wait, it said, didn't
80s, it? Maybe 87. I don't know.
Or hit the play again.
Maybe
it doesn't say on there.
Maybe it does. No, it don't say. Maybe 86, 87, something like that. But anyways,
that's what I'm thinking. Fonz and I are the same age, and I'm just trying to kind of do the math here.
Sitting there, just my fat ass, just sitting there staring at the food, going, "Oh my God, I can't wait to eat." Okay,
just to put you in the moment. This is around the time on the radio was, "I just died in your arms tonight. Must have been something you said." Exactly.
It was Cutting Crew. It was Cutting Crew and Alphaville and shit like that. But
Forever Young, yeah. While Fonz is like loading up his Dixie plate with the latest fixins.
You know what? Air Cuts for the win. Shout out to you. She says, "Fonz, laugh out loud. This makes me smile. My husband is Filipino, so I know all the foods you're mentioning." I there was something that you said one time where I almost asked you, is your husband Filipino? And I forgot what this was. This was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But that's crazy. Not crazy that he's Filipino, but it's just like, it's a small world. Anyways, I was just like, I still love Filipino food to this day. If I could die, or if I had to eat for, one food for the rest of my life, it would be Filipino food. It would be Filipino cuisine. That's what I love. And I could even cook some of it. Like, you want some adobo? I got you. You want some sinigang? I got you. I can make, I can throw it down in the kitchen. I also love Mexican food too, but yeah, my first is definitely Filipino, and I'll take that over a burger, a hot dog, even with sour gummy worms. Okay. Even with that on top, I will take Filipino food over that. The only one Filipino food I will not eat is dinuguan. And if anybody offers you dinuguan as a Filipino, you just tell them, no, thank you. And they might even call it chocolate sauce. Oh, you don't want the chocolate sauce? No, I don't want the chocolate sauce.
What is it?
It's blood.
Oh, okay.
It's blood.
It's a blood sauce.
It's a blood sauce. Good luck. I don't want it. But yeah, I love their food. Other than that, lumpia is also always great. Haircuts. Lumpia is great. Everybody knows lumpia though. Everybody's like, yeah, I'll take those Filipino egg rolls. What are they called? Lumpia? Yeah, I'll take 2. Just like, take 2. I'll take 20. My fat ass will eat a lot. As you can see. I mean,
you were a rotund, handsome young man.
Well, I went up. I fluctuated a lot. So, much the same as I do now. I was an adult.
My torso was like that. I hated how scrawny I was, and I had my hair parted over the side. My hairline was down here. And then I had like the duck's rear end. Like I had the feathered out, not a mullet. Like I wasn't really a mullet.
I had a mullet as a teenager. I had a mullet.
Well, we didn't really have mullets in the late 80s where I was from. We had more of like a baseball or soccer haircut where it just kind of flared out in the back, and it like a mullet was like a long mane back here, but there weren't a lot of people that had those until into the 90s, I think, especially where I was from.
I think this is where I think this is where I spotted something else. I'm like, oh, look at that. That looks good. Because my fat ass, I stayed at that table all the time. I'm like just eating constantly.
Well, I can tell.
But yeah, you didn't have the wings on the side of your freaking hair like that. Yeah. Man, I hated that haircut so much too. Dad, that's the one thing I hated that you used to do is cut our hair like that. I really didn't like that. I would have rather went to Supercuts, as bad as that sounds. But yeah.
Did they have Supercuts back then?
Yeah,
my Supercuts was my mom.
Was around back then. I really do. Yeah, 80s.
I wouldn't even know. Yeah. My mom is a hairdresser, was a hairdresser in the 80s and 90s. So the laundry room was her professional salon, and people came in and got their hair permed. I would come home from school and be like, oh my gosh, it rips in here. And my mom's like, I'm doing a perm. And
I'm doing a perm.
Yeah, the permanent chemicals were just rancid. It smelled like you were cooking a cat with ammonia, or I don't remember I don't really remember the smell, but
it's documented in a yearbook out there somewhere. But I had a perm on my mullet in high school. It's documented, people.
Not me. My older brother is 5 years older than me. He had a perm on the top, and then he kind of had the longish curly hair in the back, which was
there's my fat ass right there. Woo! With the Super Nintendo. Oh, look at this. Our NES. Yeah. Oh, look, I got an NES. Does it got food in it?
We had these.
Do we have food? Does
it come with a meal?
That's what I'm thinking right there.
Bro, your arms look like you could tear somebody's face off.
And my younger brother's like, what we got?
There's a little plastic train. I swear my mother-in-law has that plastic train thing that's on the coffee table.
And now I'm bowing to it because they said I could eat right after I open it. So yeah,
Fonz!
I was so happy.
Keep playing the video. Or is that it?
It's
2 minutes long.
Yeah, I was so happy to get it. You see that? I'm freaking kissing the thing. I was happy.
Who's on the couch?
My brother, my younger brother. And he's just like, what do we get? And I'm like, move over, dumbass. It's a Nintendo.
So is he your half brother or what is he?
Half.
Okay.
Yeah,
because he looks like
he's
a
my
different
brother. He's my full brother. Damn it,
he's your brother. Dang it,
we got the same haircut. How can you not tell us apart? Like, how can you tell us apart in that?
I don't know, Fonz. I live in a
haircut.
world where I live in a world on this planet where everybody looks a little bit different.
It's the same haircut, and I'm looking. It says this here. We're gonna be able to play.
You're like, I hope it comes with Bayou Billy.
Oh, look at my boobs. Yeah, like. My brother's like,
that does not even look like you, though.
My brother, look, we got the same haircut, guys. We're the same. We're the same.
Just keep the bangs out of the eyes, and everything else is fair game.
Oh man, this is embarrassing seeing this now. Honestly,
I like it.
But
keep going. What's going to happen next?
One bad mother said Fonz looked like he was on the path to bring a pro wrestler as a kid, being a pro wrestler.
Did you watch wrestling back then?
No, I hated wrestling because I always knew it was fake. And I used to get so mad at my friends and have arguments with them. Much like I am today, people. I argue a lot with people. You guys know this. Like when I stand on a hill, I kind of die on that hill. And when it came to wrestling, I constantly argued with my buddies. It's fake. And they're like, no, it's not. There's blood. And I'm like, it's fake blood.
Yeah. Around this time in like 88, I had a couple friends in junior high that were into wrestling, and we used to play the pro wrestling game on the NES that had the no-name wrestlers, but it was a really good game. But they would talk about all these wrestling characters or people on TV that they would watch, and I had no idea what they're talking about. You know, another good game that came out around this time was Double Dribble.
Double Dribble.
That was a killer game.
That was the first time I ever heard voice in a video game like that. You know, Double Dribble in a home video game system anyway. And it blew my mind. I was like, did he just say Double Dribble? Oh my God.
Well, it's pretty rare. The Intellivision had a baseball game, and we made fun of it when I was really young, that when you would get out, the ump would say, "You're out." That's what it sounded like. You're out.
That's right.
It sounded horrible. And I remember back in like 1984, we're like, lame. We didn't use the word lame. I don't know what we're used. That's dumb.
I didn't play the Intellivision though until after I got a Nintendo, because I had moved away, and my neighbors where I moved to, they had an Intellivision and I had a Nintendo, and so they were playing Intellivision all the time. So yeah,
the Intellivision was basically
didn't they have
slightly better than
cards?
An Atari.
Didn't they have these like cards that went over the remotes?
Yeah, they had a sleeve that went over the remotes. Looked like a phone with a rotary dial or with a circle dial on the top. And I actually need to buy one. I need to find a used one that doesn't even work, clean it up, and just put it somewhere in this game room. Serve says Blades of Steel. Blades of Steel was
what do we got?
Phenomenal hockey game.
I'm like, did we hide Lumpia behind the tree? Like my brother.
I don't really like hockey. Serve says I was a hockey guy, but I didn't even really care about hockey. But Blades of Steel was an amazing game, and even the Nintendo brand hockey game was good.
This is too much. This is embarrassing as shit.
Yeah. Man. Well, what's he doing now?
My arm, man.
I got to go back to the live.
Oh my God! What the hell? What
games are you pulling out there?
Mike Tyson's Punch Out, baby.
Oh my gosh!
And Top Gun.
You know how expensive those games were? $40 back then. They were $39.99, I think, when those games came out. Well, I know because my friend let me borrow, I think it was Tecmo Bowl, and I couldn't find it. I lost it. My dad was so mad. We went to the store to rebuy it to replace it, but it's like $40. I'm like, sorry, Dad.
This was in San Francisco when we visited one time when I was a kid. Anyways.
Did you just capture like just a few seconds of each of these clips?
I think that's all this is just little clips that I was looking at. I was going to do stuff with a while back, but I didn't.
The VHS to computer transfer is just abysmal.
It's terrible.
It's a tough one,
but it's terrible. But yeah, that's San Francisco.
Ryan Landis says, Fonz, did you have one of those Mattel football handhelds?
Yes. In fact,
you know what he's talking about.
Which one? The one with the dots?
With the red blinking lights?
Yes.
Little red dots?
They're little red dots. Yes. That was.
I remember the song it did when you would get a touchdown. It was like, Yeah, those are classic. I don't know how we.
And then I had
I don't know why we enjoyed something like that, but
I had a few Tiger Electronics handhelds, but they were crappy.
terrible.
Like
I had a couple of them.
I didn't care for those very much. I've never been a big handheld guy. Even when we got the Game Boy, I didn't care.
I also didn't love the Game Boy. My wife had a Game Boy and she loved it, and I would play on it when we met. You know, when it was super old by then. I'm just like, I never really got into that light dim screen, that green dim screen that you couldn't really see. Who was this? Understand, he says Tecmo and Ring King were my shiz. Ring King was so good, but after like 9 fights, you couldn't go any farther. It was so impossible.
Yeah, Ring King was fun. It was real fun.
Ring King was awesome. And you could play against your buddies.
Also,
like my brother and I box each other.
You know, I didn't like wrestling, but I did like Pro Wrestling, the game on NES with Starman.
With Starman? Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, that one was really good.
That had like a cool charm to it.
Yeah, it did. It was really good. It had a good cast of characters. Who was the guy? It had the weird name.
There was a guy that was like a mix between Macho Man and Hulk Hogan.
That was what was it? Was it Dream something? The Dream? I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been NES Pro. Let me look it up.
But there was some. I just remember playing as Starman a lot because I liked his moves.
Because he was purple or pink. So I don't look back on the NES as fondly as other people, not in the way you think, but in the early 2000s, I downloaded an emulator and I had like 150 NES games at my fingertips on my PC. And then I downloaded one again like 5 or 6 years ago. So I've played all these games fairly recently on a keyboard, like with just the arrows and then the buttons were right, like you just play it like this. And you get the actual Nintendo experience. So yeah. I remember those games exactly how they were and how they are now, and they're still amazing.
And what was I wearing here? I got my shirt tucked in, my fat ass. I don't even know. I got some freaking Jordache jeans. I don't know what those are, but they're like acid washed. I got the sleeves rolled up. Like, who the hell do I think I am?
Way overdone shirt that has 3 patterns mixed onto it.
Yeah, it just looks.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my god!
That looks like rewind that video again. I'm looking at this car on the left. Looks like my car in high school.
Which one?
The one in front of the lady in red. You can't see it. It's a hatchback. Yeah.
The hatchback.
That looks like a Dodge Colt.
Colt got a Colt.
It looks exactly like one. Yeah.
Yeah, my first car was a Datsun 210. My dad handed that down to me. Datsun 210, and it was a piece of shit, but I loved it. I didn't complain.
I wish I had one of those right now. Let me see.
I didn't complain about my
what
car.
Year was it? Do you know?
It was a 1981, I believe. It was cream color. It was actually 3 colors. It was mostly like a cream color, and then the driver's side front panel was a different color. It was like orange, and the hood was a different color because it was like salvaged. But I ended up just spray painting it all the same color. It was pretty bad. But nowadays, you give kids an old car, and they're like, "This is stupid. This is ugly. I want a brand new Mustang or something." Like, man, be happy. I was happy with what I got. My friends were happy. I had a car. They could ride around with me. It was just, that's all we needed was some wheels, man. We didn't care about what it was.
Gas was 99 cents a gallon. So a little car like Fonz and my car had a 10-gallon tank. So you just walked in and said, "Could I get $10 on pump 4?" And you just hand them a $10 bill. And my friends were really cool. We would get it and drive around, and they would go, "Oh, here, Colt." They didn't even call me Colt back then. And they would shove like $1 or $2 in the ashtray and close the thing. Like it was a thing that they just knew. There'd be a wad of like maybe $13 in there at any given time. And when I would go to get gas, I would just open that thing, pinch the money and my ones like I'm a stripper, and I would go fill up my car. And then I didn't care about how far we drove around.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, for sure. We didn't think about that back then. I remember my car had such thin tires on it that I remember, and they were bad too. One time it was raining and I was just driving. All of a sudden it just hydroplaned in the rain and it kept going. It was on a hill and it just kept going. And I had the brake fully pushed in. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. But it came to a stop finally. Moral of the story is make sure your tires are good. And don't drive in the rain with bad tires because it's scary. It is scary. Again, I want to remind everybody to, if you can, or if you can at least share it out, GoFundMe for my dad is in the description of this video. And, you know, I would really appreciate if you can help out in one of those two ways. It would be awesome. Thank you guys for everybody that has donated or shared it out. I appreciate you. But yeah, share it out anywhere. Yeah, I always have a weird time asking people to do anything like that, but hey, that's the reason why I came on today. And I'm feeling a lot better today talking to you, Colt, and reminiscing and stuff. And, you know, having to talk to Dealer and Gaz today too. Like, you guys lifted my spirits up a lot more than I was earlier today. I was really down in the dumps this morning. And I'm sure it's going to be an on and off thing now that my dad is gone. But I don't think it'll ever completely heal. But in time, it'll get better for sure. For sure.
I think you're on the way. Like, you've been able to get through this part where you were just dedicating every waking moment to checking up and taking care of your dad.
You ever somebody serve in the chat said I had a Sony CD player. I had one too. Let me tell you about those CD players. They were terrible. You move them at all and they're like, and it would stop.
This is why I don't like PlayStation, is because my severe hatred for Sony in the 90s. I had a Sony Walkman or Discman, Sony Discman, because on Wayne's World, they had a Discman sitting on their dashboard in the movie. And I thought, that is so cool. I'm going to do that. And like a year later, I bought one and I put it in my car. No matter where you put it, the only place you could sit that was on your lap, because any bump would skip the CD.
Yep.
And then I bought two really expensive in-dash Sony CD players, the detachable face ones. They were like $499 in the mid to late 90s or mid to early 90s.
Did you say
they would E99 on you?
Yeah.
The laser would stop reading discs.
Yep. What about and those even skipped if you hit a hard enough bump? Like, it was just,
well, they had buffers built in, but there was something bad. That laser was so cheap in those expensive CD players that after a while I put discs in and it would just like crank, go, trying to track in. It couldn't track. Didn't matter if I was stopped or whatever. And I was just kidding about my severe hatred.
Who in the hell came up with, and now you can take 200 CDs in a disc changer in your car and put it in your trunk, and that constantly skipped. It was terrible. I
never had one of those, but they were like 6 disc changers that went in your trunk back in the day. They were really expensive.
It was terrible. Terrible.
I had the Case Logics in the mid 90s, like the foam outer shell fold open like accordion style CD holders, and I had that thing loaded with CDs. And somebody asked Fonz and Colt, what tapes did you play in your car back in the day?
What kind of tapes, or what, like,
but yeah, albums? Like music, what, like, who are you listening to?
Cassette tapes. Man, in my car personally, dude, I don't even remember. Like,
that's an easy answer for me.
Really? Because I had such a wide variety of music. I listened to pretty much everything. And in high school, I had a lot of rap and R&B in high school. That was my go-to in high school.
But I had a cassette player in my car when I was like a sophomore or a junior. And I would say it was probably Toto. For the most part, it was Toto, because I was just getting into that music before I got into gangster rap and R&B, like later on in high school. But early on in high school, I was driving around listening to ridiculous music from a band called Toto that no one knew who that was back then.
One of the bands, and it's one of my favorite.
Hated Criss Cross Magnum. Hated them with a passion. Couldn't stand them.
One of my favorite bands, a rap group back in the day, and I played this tape a lot, was Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory. I love that
Yeah.
album. I think it's still my top rap album of all time. I liked every track on there, and what I like about that is the music mostly. It's got great flows and stuff, but the music is so good.
What was their big hit from that album? Was it Can I Kick It?
No, it was actually fudge. What was the name of that one? It was Check the Rhyme. Check the Rhyme.
Okay.
I
didn't get into hip hop until like 93 ish,
because they had other albums too, like Midnight Marauders was decent, but that one was really good. I used to love Guru too and Gangstar. I liked a lot of East Coast rap at the time. Like a lot of people were getting into all the West Coast gangsta rap, and it was okay to me, but I was big on the beats coming out of New York and just the East Coast in general. I just thought that it was just a different level for me anyway. And I love Tupac though. Tupac was really good. Tupac was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought he did a lot for the industry, but yeah, like that's mostly what I would listen to in my car back then. Yeah. Cassie says that Tribe Called Quest is one of her favorites too. Yeah, they were great, man. Rest in peace, Phife Dawg. Rest in peace. You know, that guy died a few years back, unfortunately. A lot of these rappers that were around back then died kind of early, like, you know, in their 50s and stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's sad. It's sad.
But some of the Pathfinders are still going around, still. Yeah, I mean, there's Dr. Dre and Snoop got me into, and Ice Cube got me into hip hop.
The Chronic.
Yeah, the Chronic. Yeah. The Chronic was like that
was huge.
A coming of age album for me.
Yeah, that was really huge. But Colt, I'm going to pull something up right now. Did you ever have one of these? Let me pull it up. Let me see if I can get this. Pocket rocker.
What is that?
Pocket rockers. Did you have a pocket rocker? There's the old commercial you like, the down on the corner.
Make fun of this thing so much.
Oh my
and
God.
Thanks to you. Now, this is a product of like 1987, maybe 88, that Fonz and I remember the commercials when we were kids, but we never owned one, right? I never owned
one. Nah.
But apparently what they did was they commissioned licensed music to use a truncated version of a song, and they're on micro cassettes. So it was actually the actual reel and the four lane tape cassette head tape that you would see in a regular store-bought cassette, but they shrunk it down to a half size. And so you would get this cassette and it would have two songs on it, but it was only half of both songs. Like it would play the first half of the song, and then it would just fade out, and then the tape was done and you flipped it over. But like, this is supposed to be like the new craze for the 80s cool kids. And the funny thing about this commercial is the song they used to show it off was an old Creedence Clearwater Revival song, which if you're a kid in 1988, you care about Michael Jackson and you care about what would be a big Whitney Houston. Like, you don't care about Creedence Clearwater singing down on the corner. So we made fun of this quite a bit, like last year, didn't we? Yep.
God, it's so terrible. So terrible, that commercials back then. But I find a lot of nostalgia in a lot of these old commercials, like from time to time. And, you know, when I'm bored, I guess I'll actually look up old commercials and stuff from when I was a kid and watch some of it and remember, you know, things I was doing back then. And
you get that like real tactile feeling, like you can, like the sensory overload when you hear something like after these messages, we'll be right back. You know, like that sort of thing that we would hear when we watch cartoons. It would put you right in the moment and remember.
Yeah, definitely. Colt, before we get out of here, like anything really major happening in gaming news lately? I'll just, you know,
everything's dead. No, I mean, there's some of the biggest games are coming out this month. in October. And while the biggest games are coming out, and this is the reason why it's been difficult for us to make content, is while these games are coming out, the industry is kind of in its own little crisis mode where they're making more money than ever and they're laying off and closing down and canceling games. And I just kind of get like bummed out about the state of gaming while we're also experiencing the best year of game releases. So it's kind of this weird limbo. Do you understand what I mean, Fonz?
Yeah, I currently though I'm not going to step away from Starfield until I'm finished with that, and then I'll move on to something else. And there's so much that I can pick from, but I think I've narrowed it down, and I think I'm going to go with Cyberpunk next, just because I did love Cyberpunk when it first dropped, and I'm hearing from friends that it's so much better. Like there's a lot of quality of life features in the game that are great. The system, all the abilities and stuff are a lot better. Like it's just done better than it was in the beginning.
Well, the gunplay certainly is better.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was talking to Gaz about it. I'm like, well, I forgot how the gunplay used to feel like when your character lifted a gun, the gun felt like it weighed 2 ounces. And now there's a little more weight to it. And Gaz said, yeah, that's one of the first things they improved was the gunplay, because it was very, very, very sloppy in the launch version that you and I have 150 hours in a piece, right? Yeah. So when I was playing it the other day, I kind of just messed around for 30 minutes and I was like, this feels a lot better. It feels very close to how we feel the gunplay in first person for Starfield. But there's some really cool animations as well for reloads.
Boba Fett said it's much better. Definitely not perfect.
Yeah.
But
It's not snappy like Call of Duty, but it does feel more weighty in the right ways. And I forgot about the gore, Fonz. I went out to like an old abandoned hotel in the middle of the desert in the daytime, and these guys jumped me and I started shooting them, and there's a guy laying there with just his torso, no head, no arms, because I threw a grenade out, and I was like, and it's like,
dang,
looks like the real thing. I'm like, I forgot about this. It's something Starfield needed to have. And I don't know why Starfield didn't have gore, because Fallout 4 and 3 are like really like limbs and eyeballs everywhere. But
yeah,
I'm excited to get into it. And I gotta say, Fonz, Cyberpunk has always been a good game. Even if you played on Series X or Series S or PS5, I still think you got a really good game. And you and I, our opinion being that Cyberpunk never did anything groundbreaking, but it was still a good game. And I think if you were on modern consoles, you still got a really good experience.
I will. The one knock I had on it, and I think I still have it, even with the new patch and everything, is the fact that the city kind of seems walled off in a way. It doesn't seem as alive as like a Grand Theft Auto, and there's not many buildings you can go into, and that sort of stuff made it feel less impactful, really. I wanted that city to be a bit more alive. That's the one knock I had on it. But I love this story. I love the narrative. I love the gameplay. I love the side missions, the characters. I had a great time with that game. It was really good. Solid game. So I'm looking forward to going back and playing through this new stuff as well. But the only other thing I really heard about this week was like Jim Ryan stepping down, Colt, retiring. How much of that do you feel is like something that he decided to do on his own, or maybe nudged a bit by Sony?
Everybody has their choices to leave when they want to leave, but I'm going to start standing in the camp that Jim was asked to retire. And I know it may bother people, but they sold so many PS5s under his tenure. They sold tons of games. They increased services. They also increased prices. Jim Ryan has not launched a single game since he's been there. Those are all Sean Layden's games that he pushed out and that he pushed for. And
that's what I was telling people. I said, like, this was the easiest layup given to Jim Ryan when Sean Layden passed it down to him. Like he didn't need to do much. Like, the thing that he really pushed, honestly, is putting these games on PC.
But Sean Layden also pushed that. And I
did he
feel
really?
like one of the reasons they asked Sean Layden to leave was he said that gaming is not a walled garden. And then not long after that, he decided to go somewhere else. And I'm starting to wonder if one segment of Sony's PlayStation leadership is like, no, games are only on one piece of plastic.
Yeah.
But that's not where the industry is going at all. And you can't
sure.
stay there forever unless you're Nintendo.
Yeah.
I don't think PlayStation can remain in that mindset the rest of their time in the gaming space where everything is restricted and walled off to a piece of plastic. I don't think it's going to last forever.
Not when, I mean, somebody can argue and say, well, if you look to Nintendo, they're doing just fine with their exclusives and not pushing their games to PC. And they are, but they're like an enigma, Sony, I mean, Nintendo is just, they've always been that different entity in the gaming space. And like, it seems like they can do no wrong. It seems like with their customers. And the fact that they went with the handheld, well, I won't say they can do no wrong because the Wii U was pretty bad for them. The Wii U,
they recovered pretty quickly,
but they recovered pretty quickly with the Switch. So this whole handheld approach is huge for them. And I think if they were to stop the handheld, I think that would be a big mistake for Nintendo. I think that's where they're shining, is the fact that they did go handheld or bust, and they're just continuing with their quality games that they bring out. I don't know, man. I think Xbox and Sony are a bit different. I think they need to branch out. They need to do PC mandate.
I mean, it's weird. Like VG Charts is speculating or interpolating numbers, and the PS5 is slightly behind the PS4, and the Xbox Series consoles are slightly behind the Xbox One, which looks really bad for Xbox. But then again, like the PS4 was a runaway hit. So it just proves that the world has changed where these handhelds are going to become really popular. If you can get native gaming on a smart TV in the next few years, like, I don't know, a top console, or what would you call it? Like an entertainment center console, video gaming system may not. It's always been niche, right? I don't know.
Yeah, no, and you see a lot of guys moving to PC. It seems like even in this community, I'm seeing more and more guys going to PC, guys and gals, I should say.
The Iron Lords are all going PC. Gaz has been talking about going PC. Yep. I played 3 major games on PC this generation because of limitations on console.
That's 60 frames, man. I'm telling you, a lot of people think that's not such a big deal, but it is in the grand scheme of things. And that is what is driving most of the people to PC, is the lack of 60 frames. So
you can totally enjoy a 30 frames game, and
of course,
some do it better than others. Like Starfield's 30 frames is so wonderful with its motion blur, but when you play a game at 60, it's like, there's the pristine modern experience that I was looking for. And like, you and I were both playing Gotham Knights at the same time. You were on Xbox and I was on PC, and that's a good game. It's a fun game.
But if I had a PC at that time, I would have played it on the PC for sure. I would be playing Starfield on the PC right now. For sure.
Onion Bro says everyone going to PC is whack, as you guys are supposed to champion Xbox consoles. No. The Xbox
I've always
has been much more than one piece of plastic for. Onion, I'll help you out on this, because it's a lot of people don't see this, that I would posture since 2005, Microsoft and Xbox have been more than just the console, because not long after Halo 2 came out, it got a port to PC. And then Combat Evolved got a port to PC. Like, you can name on one hand the big flagship games that are only available on console for Xbox. And it's Halo 5 and Forza Horizon 2, and I forget. I can't really tell you what else is only available on an Xbox console.
The thing for me is, it's not even about Xbox or PlayStation or whatever. At the end of the day, it's about the games, and that's what I champion. It's games. I don't champion these corporations. I don't champion these plastic boxes. I never have. I'm all about the games. And if a game is playing better on any one platform, that's where I'll typically play a game. Like if I don't get 60 frames, let's say the PlayStation decides they have a multi-plat game and it's actually playing 60 frames over there, but on the Xbox for some reason it's only 30. I'm playing it on the PlayStation. It's that simple. I'm not in it for these corporate, like, their interests, their battles. I don't care about these fanboy wars. I don't care.
And I love consoles. Like, I love everything about playing on consoles, except for, a few small things that can bother me. But I play 90% on a console. But Xbox is not just a console. And I don't know how they've been so steered in and ingrained in on the word Xbox means that black box with the little white globe logo on it. And it really has been much more than that for a long time, especially with Phil Spencer saying, look at all these studios making amazing games just for you guys who are on Game Pass, who are on the Xbox console or on cloud or on a supported device. Like, you buy the games from us. This is what Xbox has to offer. And I put out a video this morning about all these extra games that Xbox has that we don't even have full confirmation of. In fact, right now, I think Prey 2 is happening based off of one of the code names. Like, I don't know, you don't like Prey as a game.
If they
a ton of games coming.
I mean, an updated Prey style game would be decent. Like, that one just feels dated, man. It feels really dated because it's old. Like
2016.
Yeah,
that game
Prey's an older game.
Feels like,
and it was AA, right? AA.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't think of it as AA, but when I played Prey, I'm gonna sneeze. Please don't. When I played Prey, I thought, man, this is like a sci-fi space-based Deus Ex.
Yeah, I
like
couldn't
many
get
of
into
the
it.
mechanics are very similar. The way you go into the computers, the way you manage your inventory, they're very similar games.
I tried to get into it, but there was a lot of things against it. But
the first time I played it, I was like, I don't like this game. And then dealer goes, what was it, like a couple years later, dealer's like, just started over at the beginning. It's amazing. I'm like, I don't want to. And then I got past the point where I gave up, and I was so
I could be wrong about it too. Like, it could hit me the same way, because I did the same thing with Witcher 3. I put in 6 hours with Witcher 3, and I thought, I don't see the hype here. And I stopped playing it, and then I tried it again, put another 4 hours into it. I was like, I don't like this game. And I started over, and dealer told me the same thing. He said, start it and try it again. And I did, and I wasn't feeling it. And then all of a sudden I was like, holy crap, this thing is incredible. Like, I
trust him. He did the same thing with Rise of the Tomb Raider. I got in the first hour or two, and then Fallout 4 came out, and I'm like, okay, I'm playing this. And dealer's like, start over Tomb Raider. Like, when the 1X came out, he's like, I said I have my save, and he's like, start over from the beginning. Trust me. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to redo it. And I was hooked.
Yeah. Did you see?
Moral of the story: listen to dealer when it comes to games.
Exactly. Gaming Forte. And thank you for that super chat, brother. He says the next 3 years will be hard for PlayStation. Most of the games that will release are gas games, which is a major gamble. If it doesn't work, they'll pivot.
What does Forte mean? If it doesn't work, they'll pivot.
If gas games don't work, they'll go back to
the next 3 years. The next. It may be till the end of the generation that they'll be releasing those games as a service that they're creating that are already in motion. So they'll have to pivot next generation. But they've already said they're still going to make third-person, over-the-shoulder, action-adventure, cinematic with RPG and stealth elements games.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just kidding.
But anyways, folks, I've got a lot of things to do. Got a lot of things on my mind. I'm going to have to end the show now, but I appreciate each and every one of you who've come out and listened to me ramble at the beginning of this show as well. But again, this show was impromptu. I really wasn't planning on doing a show, but I wanted to come on and just talk a bit to kind of help myself, really, and also help my dad out and honoring his wishes. And if you guys haven't already, please look to the GoFundMe in the description. If you can help out, great. If you can share it, great. I appreciate either way. Love you guys for helping out. And until next time, guys, actually, Colt, let everybody know where they can find you first before we get out of here.
Yeah, who cares where they can find me? But hit that description and open up and go to that link and show your support for Fonz and his family right now. I'm Colt Eastwood. Who cares? He's
Colt Eastwood. You can find him on the Colt Eastwood YouTube channel and the Colt Eastwood Twitter, or X channel, not Twitter. It's X now. So,
no, whatever.
Anyways, guys, until next time, game on.